Welcome to episode 2 of our Pale Court Charm Deep Dive, featuring Mark of Purity. Before we get started, just a quick reminder. To gain access to these charms, just make sure you've beaten the dream version of Dung Defender, who is located right here. With that out of the way, let's jump into it. Mark of Purity. This charm costs 3 notches and grants stacking attack speed each time an enemy is hit, as well as letting you hold down the attack button to automatically swing your nail. Mark of Purity can be obtained by defeating Dryer in Queen's Garden, right outside the White Lady sub-area. Mark of Purity decreases the time between attacks by 0.0355 seconds each time you land a nail strike, capping out at 0.17 seconds between strikes on the 9th consecutive hit, and once you hit maximum speed, you'll hear a bell sound and your nail strikes will turn blue. Taking damage or not hitting anything for 3.4 seconds will reset your attack speed, and this sound effect will play to let you know. Being able to attack once every 0.17 seconds is extremely powerful. To put this into perspective, that means you'll be striking 5.88 times every second, or 141% faster than usual. But this power does come with a few drawbacks. For starters, your nail will deal 20% less damage, taking a pure nail from 21 damage down to 17. Furthermore, this charm actually lowers your attack speed while you have no stacks. And when I say stacks, what I mean is how many attack speed increases you've had. So 2 stacks would mean you've hit something twice and increase your speed 2 times, and so on. The knight can attack once every 0.41 seconds as a base. However, with Purity equipped and 0 stacks, this actually goes up to 0.49 seconds, which is quite a bit slower. And in fact, only after the 3rd hit will you be swinging faster than if you didn't have this charm equipped at all. This, along with the damage debuff, makes the charm sound pretty unappealing at first, but keep in mind it does pay off in the long term, and there are a few factors that soften the impact of these debuffs. One of which is the ability this charm gives you to hold down the attack button and attack automatically. Not only is this convenient to use, but it also means your swings will be frame perfect with no lost time. A quick test I conducted, where I spammed the attack button as fast as I could, showed on average I was wasting around 0.4 seconds between attacks. Add this to the base speed of 0.41 and we get around 0.45 seconds between attacks, with human error included. Obviously this will vary from player to player, but the point is it really does a lot to negate the slow start. On this table we can see the time each attack takes to perform, counting from the very first frame to the instant the game allows us to attack again. I'll be referring to this number as the attack interval. This is a function of both the attack cooldown and attack duration, but for simplicity's sake we'll be sticking to attack interval. We can see both base and quick slash take 0.41 and 0.28 seconds respectively, and staying the same with consecutive hits. And then we have Mark of Purity on its own, and finally Mark of Purity combined with quick slash in the last column, both of which ramp up as you land consecutive hits. A few notable differences that aren't so obvious on first glance is the fact that the attack speed limit is lower when the two are combined, being 0.13 instead of 0.17. Additionally, this cap is reached on the 11th strike instead of the 9th strike, taking more hits to reach. This technically makes Mark of Purity a bit less efficient, as you'll only be shaving off 0.0163 seconds each time you hit, instead of the original 0.0355, and the total difference at max stacks will only be 0.179 seconds, instead of 0.319 seconds. However, the extra speed from quick slash still lets you hit more often and therefore ramp up faster. These numbers are all good and well, but when we're talking about fractions of seconds, it's kinda hard to process the meanings. So I'm going to convert it into something a bit easier to visualize. If we divide 1 second by the time in between each attack, this gives us the amount of attacks per second. In column 1 we can see how many attacks per second we can do with no charms, excluding any input delay we'd have. Then the next column across, we can see attacks per second of Mark of Purity, getting higher as we go down the list as it ramps up. And if we go across again, we can see how much faster we're attacking compared to the base, capping out at 141% faster at max stacks. And then we have the same comparison, but this time with quick slash and Mark of Purity equipped. As you can see, this starts off really fast and just gets crazier from there, capping out at a whopping 213% faster than base, hitting just under 8 attacks per second. That's the comparison with base, but how does it compare to just wearing quick slash? Well, let's take a look. This is the exact same format, except now the left column we're comparing to quick slash instead of the base speed. Now here's where it gets a bit interesting, as the comparison's a lot harder to pick a winner of, and that's particularly true when comparing quick slash directly to Mark of Purity. As you can see, only on the 6th strike does Mark of Purity become better than quick slash on paper. But of course, Purity will always offer that removal of input delay and convenience of being able to hold the button down. If we average out the attack speed over several hits, Purity actually takes 11 swings before it beats out Quick Slash, and it's those first few hits that are slower than base that really extends this out, which is something to keep in mind. And then of course we have our comparison with Mark of Purity combined with Quick Slash versus just Quick Slash on its own. The gap, while still very significant, is a lot closer than the previous comparison. And now the last table of all, how much better is Mark of Purity combined with Quick Slash compared to just Mark of Purity on its own? Well, as we said, Quick Slash is better early on, while Purity is better later, and this is reflected by the large early lead at low stacks, where Quick Slash is carrying the slack for Purity's slow start. Funny enough, they make quite a good combo, as Quick Slash lets you ramp up Mark of Purity much faster. We've compared the raw speed in every possible way, but there is one other element to take into account before we can see the full picture, and that's that 20% nail damage reduction. All of the following will be using damage numbers from the pure nail. Normally with frame perfect inputs, you'll be doing 51.22 damage per second with no charms equipped. If we look at the DPS column for Mark of Purity, we can see it actually starts out pretty rough. Remember, we're slower than the base for the first few hits and are doing 20% less damage per hit. This maths out to be 33 to 21% less damage per second for the first 3 hits. But after you hit 5 stacks or more, you'll rapidly pull ahead until you end up doing just over 98 damage per second, nearly double base. Now you might have noticed the next column labelled True DPS, which looks a bit different. So what's the difference? Well, the first DPS column only counts damage in that very moment, and isn't considering the fact that to even get to this stack, you were previously attacking slower. True DPS, on the other hand, takes into account all the previous swings that got you to this point. That includes those slower hits at the start, so you'll see some lower but more realistic numbers here. Using this method, we see you'll only start outperforming base at the 8th stack. Just take note though, while this table only shows 12 hits, obviously this can go infinitely until you lose stacks or get hit, and the further you go down the table, the closer you'll get to that 98.79 DPS shown on the standard DPS column. Showing the same table again, this time compared with Quick Slash's 75 DPS, and damn, there's some really big negative percentages here. We're starting off more than half of what Quick Slash DPS is, but eventually getting to a respectable 33% higher by the 9th stack. But things get a bit grim when we look at the true DPS. I couldn't even fit on the graph the point where Mark of Purity broke even with Quick Slash. We'd have to make room for another 5 spots on the 16th stack. Now unless you're someone like Spoonsy, that's the Hollow Knight speedrunner you see styling on that boss in the background footage, then this might become an issue. Not getting hit for 17 strikes just to get the same value as Quick Slash does set the bar fairly high. So if you've got to pick between just Quick Slash or just Mark of Purity, unless you're either really skilled or just love the automatic nail swing function, then your best bet's probably going to be Quick Slash. But don't worry Mark of Purity, if you can't beat him, join him. Doing the same comparison again, this time though with Quick Slash and Mark of Purity equipped. And this paints a much nicer picture. We hit a nice 130 DPS at 11 stacks and onwards. That's a 153% increase from base. And even in the true DPS, it's always in the green. Although do keep in mind, it is costing you 6 notches. But can you really put a price on the joy of attacking that quickly and doing that much damage? I don't think so. Comparing this combo to Quick Slash on its own again, and we do still see a lot of average percentages, only coming out in the positive by the 10th hit going by true DPS. However, one thing you can't see here is just how quickly you chew through these numbers. It takes 3.1 seconds to reach the speed cap with Purity alone. And when combined with Quick Slash, even faster at only 2.5 seconds, despite needing it to hit 3 more stacks to hit cap. Mark of Purity at its core is a high risk, high reward version of Quick Slash, and as such, likes all the same things Quick Slash did. Combined with steady body to manage recoil and DPS uptime, unbreakable strength for crazy damage, more on that later, and any range increasing nails such as Long Nail or Mark of Pride, and even Grubberfly's Allergy if you want to turn your nail into a literal minigun. One note with this combo, hitting an enemy with Grubberfly's projectiles will not actually increase your attack speed. It will however refresh the timer, maintaining however many stacks you currently have. It also goes nicely with Abyssal Bloom. However, there's a slight anti-synergy as getting hit to trigger Bloom will reset your attack speed, but it's still decent. So just for fun, what's the highest DPS we can achieve with this? Well, with Purity, Quick Slash, Unbreakable Strength and Fury of the Fallen, if we're on one mask and fully stacked, we should theoretically be doing 344.3 damage per second. If we're okay with over-charming and throw on Abyssal Bloom as well, we'll hit an incredible 489.66 damage per second. Enough damage to kill Nightmare King Grim in just over 3 seconds. Another interesting note about Mark of Purity is it actually bypasses enemy iframes. Usually when an enemy is hit with nail damage, they're immune to further damage for 0.2 seconds. This would normally mean there's a soft cap of 5 attacks per second, but as you know, we can get way higher than that with this charm, and yet every hit still lands. In conclusion, Mark of Purity has the potential to be one of, if not the biggest damage amplifying charm in the game, giving potentially near twice as much DPS as Unbreakable Strength. However, to achieve this, you need to play decently well to minimise the charm's negative effects. And I'd also like to add that, while all these tables about DPS are good as a benchmark, in the real game, most bosses won't just let you stand there and hit them, and will only offer short windows to deal damage. In which case, if you have Mark of Purity already fully stacked, the burst damage this charm offers can be extremely useful in ways the table don't reflect. Mark of Purity Special Interactions. Combining Mark of Purity and Nailmaster's Glory will increase the time you have before your attack speed resets by 0.6 seconds, going from 3.4 seconds to 4 seconds. That's all for this one. I'd like to thank Riverbot, the charm's creator, for helping me out and putting up with all my questions, as well as Spoonsy, who provided some of the background footage. If you'd like to check out some mind-boggling boss speedruns, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. If you enjoyed this video or learned a few things, consider subscribing and giving the video a like to help it out with the algorithm. The next episode we'll be taking a look at the next Pale Court charm, Vessel's Lament, which is one of the more unique new charms added, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.